Hello and welcome to Froch on Fighting. My name is Carl Froch, MBE, former unified super middleweight world boxing champion. And for those of you who don't know, I'm sure you already know, the Cobra was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame last year. This episode is brought to you by Cobra Casino. So before we get into this episode, I want to tell you about my friends at HelloFresh who are also supporting this video. HelloFresh provides quick, simple recipes that save time in the kitchen without sacrificing flavour. Discover a diverse menu of seasonal recipes, including rich comfort foods, veggie-forward options, and indulgent treats to suit all tastes. From hearty soups to shareable appetizers, HelloFresh recipes are perfect for cozy nights in or hosting dinner parties. Just scan the QR code on your screen for 60% off your first box and free desserts for life. Use the promo code 60FF and click on the link in the description. So it was a busy weekend of boxing. Obviously Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. If you've not seen my post-fight reaction to that, take a look at it. It's done mega numbers. I don't think Jake Paul was very happy. We'll probably talk about that in a minute. But first of all, I just want to get into Chris Billam Smith and Gilberto Ramirez. That was a great fight. And we're going to start there because he really did himself proud, Chris Billam Smith. He started off quick as well. Round one, he came out and he was in the fight, let's be honest. From round one, at the very start, it looked good, but it didn't take long for Gilberto Ramirez to really get going and find his flow. And it was difficult really for me to score many rounds, if any, probably maybe one or two rounds I'd give to CBS, because he just didn't stop trying, didn't stop throwing punches, and that's what I want to do. I want to give Chris Billam Smith a lot of credit because he's in against Ramirez, who's a top fighter, only ever lost once to Dimitri Bivol. That was at light heavyweight. This is obviously up at cruiserweight now against CBS, and he just did himself proud. He went out on his shield. He didn't stop trying from round one right through to round 12, even though he was getting punched in the face constantly. He was getting outworked. I mean, he's a slick southpaw, Ramirez. And he's a good counter puncher. He can punch a little bit as well. He's not a massive puncher, but his power does command a bit of respect. And I just thought Chris Billam Smith really did stay in the fight, kept trying, kept believing in himself. And even if he did lose a bit of belief late on, he still tried to finish strong. So you've got to give this kid all the credit in the world. He was WBO world champion. No one thought he was ever going to do anything. He lost to Richard Riakporhe, which he later avenged. He also beat Lawrence Okoli in Bournemouth, and a lot of people picked against him to win that fight. So he's come through a couple of good domestic fights there, won a world title, and he's out in Saudi against Gilberto Ramirez, and hopefully he's getting the old Bunsen burner. Hopefully he's been paid well because he deserves it. There's people saying now he should maybe retire. I think if he still wants to keep boxing, all right, he's got to probably take his world title ambitions away for now, but there's still room for him at cruiserweight. He's still got some life left in him if he wants to continue boxing. I won't say retire because he took a lot of punishment, but he wasn't down, he wasn't hurt, he doesn't look like he's getting damaged. So I just want to give Chris Billam Smith all the credit in the world that he deserves and wish him the best for the future. As for Gilberto Ramirez, exciting future. I mean, Jaya Pataya has been mentioned, and that will be a unification fight that I would absolutely really look forward to. It's two quality operators up at cruiserweight, and that's a fight that should happen and hopefully will happen very soon. So let's get into the juicy stuff. Jake the Fake Paul has had something to say, and I've had a lot of messages since my reply to him. If you've not seen it already, I did a response video to the Mike Tyson Fake Paul fight of the weekend, and Jake Paul didn't like what I said because I called him fucking useless, because let's be honest, he is. When it comes to boxing, he's useless. I think everybody agrees. But let's have a look. Let's get a look at what he actually said to me. So his message on X to me is, fucking sour loser. I think he meant sore loser, so I can't spell, but he's got the saying wrong. He's calling me a sore loser. I didn't lose, mate. Shut the fuck up. Are you going to make me? I doubt it. You won't come near me, will you? I've done more in 4 years. Come on, really? I've done more in 4 years than you have in your life. So he's talking about his 4-year boxing career here. What's he done in 4 years in his boxing career? Yeah, exactly. Absolutely fucking nothing. The one person he's fought who's a professional fighter was Tommy Fury. Now, he lost that fight. He lost to Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury, at best, would be British level. And I say at best, and I say it with the utmost of respect, I don't even think Tommy Fury would win a British title. Now, I don't think he's good enough. He needs to build, he needs to grow, he needs to develop, and he's not done that. But he jumped in there with Fake Paul because it was a big payday. Fair play to him. But That's all fake Paul's done. He's lost to Tommy Fury. He can't take any credit or he can't big himself up in the slightest based on all his previous fights. Anderson Silva, he's fought a couple of MMA fighters that can't box. Who was the other one? Was it Diaz? He beat Diaz, but that was just a nothing fight. I mean, do I need to go into my professional career? Do I need to go into my Hall of Fame career? 12 world title fights, back to back world title fights, from beating Jermaine Taylor, well, from beating Jean Pascal to defend against Jermaine Taylor, right through to ironing George Groves out at Wembley Stadium in front of 80,000 fans. Check the fan count as well at Dallas, Texas when you was out there at the AT&T Stadium. You didn't quite get the 80,000, did you? So you're not even selling as many tickets to me. I know you did big on numbers on Netflix, but let's be honest, mate. You've got your demographic. You've got your teeny bopper audience for your YouTube. You're a content creator. You're a YouTuber. Jake Paul is not a fighter. He's not a boxer. He's playing at the game. He's pretending. He's conning everybody. He's not fooling any real fighters. He's not fooling any boxing purists. We all know what he is. We all know he's a professional piss taker, and he's pretty good at it. But don't compare yourself to me as a professional fighter with your joke shop career. You live in clown world. That's all you live in. You're pretending to be a fighter, and people are queuing up to see you get knocked out. They're buying into the bullshit because they want to see you get ironed out. But unfortunately for the people that want to see you get Else Barcode, you're not going to fight anybody that's capable of doing it. Hence why you fought a 58-year-old Mike Tyson who was on medication for sciatica and bad back and all sorts of problems. I mean, last time I saw him, he was walking around with a walking stick. You shouldn't be in there with Mike Tyson throwing punches at him. It's an absolute disgrace. But anyway, so you've not achieved more than me in 4 years of your pro career because you come nowhere near to my Hall of Fame career. First and last time I respond to your broke, salty ass. I mean, you've talked about me before on numerous occasions. You was the one that said that my 7th fight was against a guy who was 3-5 and ended up with a career of 5-31. So yeah, in my 7th fight, I fought somebody who had lost more fights than he'd won. That's what you do when you're building as a professional. Look at your building professional career. You're not even fighting professional boxers until you fought Tommy Fury, and it was game over for you. But my point is, you mentioned me before I mentioned you. You called me out as well. Jake Paul mentioned if you fight Anderson Silva, I think he was getting pissed off with the fact that I don't pay him any credit. So he mentioned me. He said, listen, Carl Froch doesn't know what he's talking about. Carl Froch couldn't lace my boot and all this bullshit. And he said, I'll fight Carl Froch, but he's got to fight Anderson Silva first. So Jake Paul called me out and started talking about me. I never started talking about Jake Paul. I've only ever given my opinion on how useless he is in the ring, and I've only ever responded to what he says to me. I'm not in the business of calling anybody out, and actually, just for the record, I've got no intentions of ever lacing up the gloves again. I don't want to fight again. I'm not interested. I'm getting on for, I'm 47 years old. I've been retired 11 years. I've achieved everything I want to achieve in boxing, and last thing I want to be doing is lacing up the gloves and getting this nice straight hooter punched again. I don't want to spar. I don't want to get in the ring training in any capacity, let alone boxing. I just do think that if the fight happened with Jake Paul, it wouldn't be a fight for me. It'd be a steady move around. I could beat him with one arm, literally. It'd be so easy. But I've got no intentions. This isn't a call out. I'm not interested in fighting him. I did say previously to all the haters that say, oh, Froch is looking for a payday. I did say that I'll do this fight for charity, just to shut him up. So I don't want paying. So Carl Froch isn't looking for a payday. And I don't want to bang on about it, but I don't need the old Bunsen burner. I'm doing all right. Just check it. Just check check my history. Have a look at the stats and facts. It's not hard to find. I'm in a good position, but I don't like to bang on about it because it's not classy. But yeah, Jake Paul talked about me first. What was his tweet? What did he say? 4 years, the more you are. We've done that. First time and last time I responded, no. Let me know if you want to wash my cars. Well, I did respond on Twitter to that, didn't I? Which you kept your mouth shut about. But I said about your wife letting me in through the back door and I'll come and wash your cars. But you didn't have anything to say, did you? Because you know what I said was absolutely true. But hopefully this will lay to rest all the bullshit saga with Jake Paul and myself. He said he's going to ignore me now. Hopefully he will. But if somebody does ask my opinion on old Jake the fake Paul, I'm going to continue to be honest. This guy is not a professional fighter. I don't know where he's going to go from now because after the Mike Tyson fight, he's really, really just exposed himself for what he is. He couldn't do anything with Mike Tyson. He's talking about, oh, he took his time with him. He couldn't do anything with him. He was frightened to death. And Mike Tyson actually looked like he was fighting to a script. The whole thing's a big joke shop. It's like, it's all a big scam, a big fraud. It's conning people. But if people are going to tune in and watch it, and Netflix is going to continue to pay mega money, then fair play to him. Well done. I admire you from that sense because you know how to make money. But let's not forget, you are just a professional piss taker. I've seen you dancing on TikTok. You're a fucking joke. And you are not a professional boxer. You never, ever will be. So go on, piss off. I've had enough of you now. Oh, before I wrap on fake Paul, George Groves, old Georgie boy, my old mate, my old test out my right hand on his chin in front of 80,000 at Wembley Stadium, pal. Listen, he said that if I fight Jake Paul, I might actually struggle. I'm 47 years old, I'm getting old, and Jake Paul's young. Listen to me, George Groves, or anybody else that thinks that Jake Paul has got a chance against the Cobra. It is absolutely impossible now, or even when I'm 58 years old, for Jake Paul to ever beat me in a professional boxing ring. It's impossible. It's not even up for debate. It's stupid to say that. So George, next time I see you, just watch out, because if I sneak up on you, I might get you in just a little squeeze of chokehold. Listen, me and George are all right. We're mates. Let's say we're mates, because we are. I think a lot of George now, but that was ridiculous what he said there. So you can piss off and all. Go on, get out of my way. So away from me and fake Paul, there are actually other fighters who have actually called him out, whether they've called him out or not. But you've got Artur Beterbiev, a current light heavyweight monster of the division. You see his fight with Bivol. You see, I mean, it was a close fight. He's knocked out everybody else before then. He's just a monster puncher and an absolute animal in the ring. 40 years old, but still going strong. And Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois, I mean, he's massive. You see what he did to Anthony Joshua? Absolutely flattened him. Like bad, hurt him in round 1, finished him off El Sparco in round 5. Imagine if Daniel Dubois hit Jake Paul on the chin. Okay, I'm not being funny, like, don't even want to talk about that or think about it, but why are these boxers calling out Jake Paul? What I'd say is, it'd be like taking candy from a baby, wouldn't it? I mean, if these fighters, any fighter at any sort of professional capacity at that level, because we saw Tommy Fury struggle with Jake Paul a little bit, but he still beat him. And Tommy Fury is obviously, like I said earlier, not even British level. But people like Daniel Dubois, world champion, and Artur Beterbiev, who's undisputed champion, who's an absolute monster division, it would be, I mean, Daniel Dubois too big. Beterbiev's probably too big and way too good, just too good. But these guys probably aren't even, they're probably not even contacting Jake Paul themselves. Don't forget, a lot of these people don't run their own Twitter accounts. They'll have access to their Twitter, they'll be able to have a look, and if they fancy doing a reply or a response to somebody, they will. But most people are doing their tweets for them. You remember when Anthony Joshua said to me, I don't run my Twitter account, I don't bother with Twitter, somebody else runs it for me. I think he engages in his Instagram more so than what he does his Twitter, but even his Instagram's probably managed by somebody, because when you're that big and you've got that many followers, why would you run your own account? You've got too many things to concentrate on to be a professional boxer than to be going through your social media and thinking about like generating content through social media. So anyway, Beterbiev's probably not even contacted him, but somebody will think this is a good idea. If Beterbiev calls him out, maybe we could get an easy fight. They're just thinking maybe there's a chance here to make silly money. Maybe we can get on this gravy train, this fake Paul gravy train, where people are making an absurd amount of money for really, really easy fights. But if you look at it, he's not fighting anybody. He's not going to fight a Beterbiev or a Daniel Dubois. He wouldn't fight me. I'm 47 years old. He's got no intention of coming anywhere near me. He's just trying to dismiss me and try and forget I even exist and trying to say he doesn't know who I am. He's already like made himself look stupid. He started on me. I came back at him. I've explained all that. Now he's trying to pretend he don't know who I am and that I don't exist. But he couldn't help himself the other day, could he? On X, he had to respond because I got under his skin. It kills Jake Paul that he knows that all professional boxers and all people within the professional boxing world know that he cannot box. He's not a professional boxer. Talk about that Mike Tyson fight being a professional boxing sanctioned fight. 14-ounce gloves, 2-minute rounds. It's not a professional boxing match. It's a fucking man's world at 3-minute rounds. You can't do 3-minute rounds. You can't live with professional fighters. You've showed that when you fought novice pro Tommy Fury. So just keep trying to con your fans and keep trying to do what you're doing. I'm not supposed to be talking about Jake Paul, actually. I'm talking about other fighters, calling him out. These other fighters that are mentioning, basically what I'm getting at is, they're just thinking about a nice, easy payday. That's all it is for them. A piss easy fight to knock over fake Paul for an absurd amount of money. So why wouldn't they mention his name? They might as well give it a go. They might as well chuck the name in the hat and see what comes back. But I'm telling you now, I ain't chucking my name in the hat. I don't want to fight. But if it did happen, you know what would happen? It'd get El Sparko'd in the first round. Mismatch. And that's why you won't come anywhere near. It's like I'm talking to Jake Paul again. Let me just third person him. Jake Paul will not go anywhere near any professional fighter of any sort of level above Tommy Fury, because Tommy Fury beat him. I even heard the nonsense that he reckons he could beat Mike Tyson in his prime. Let's just sum it up. Jake Paul is a fucking brilliant troll. He's a professional piss taker. He's great at creating content. He's got a big demographic and he makes a fortune. Fair play to you. I respect that, and he's absolutely smashing it. But let's just get away from the fact that he will ever be anything near a professional boxer, because he will not and never will be in that league, ever. I also want to mention again Mike Tyson, because I've recently read that Tyson and Holyfield are in talks for a potential fight. I mean, these two boxed each other, I think it was November 96. Obviously, I've done my research. November 96, but I can remember the fight pretty clearly. Tyson got knocked out in round 11 by Holyfield. It was a good fight, close fight, just big heavyweights, chucking bombs. I mean, Holyfield's come up from cruiserweight, but big puncher at heavyweight, big lump of a man, and he actually dropped Tyson, knocked him out, finished him off. Well, he didn't finish him off because they boxed again the following year, June 1997, and that was the fight when Holyfield was using his head a lot. He was dropping in his head. He was throwing 3-4 punches and leaning forward with his head, and the top of his bald Swede was rubbing on Tyson's face, kept catching him, kept headbutting him, and Tyson was getting so infuriated. He was so frustrated during that fight, he ended up getting hold of Holyfield when he came in close and biting his ear. He'd done it once, told the referee was like, hang on a minute, what's going off here? And then he did it again, but the second time he bit his ear, he bit a chunk of his ear off, literally got hold of it, bit it and ripped the top of his ear off, spat it on the floor. Or did he eat it and swallow it? I don't know, but that's how menacing Mike Tyson was. But that was 20, what was that, 20 years ago? 22, 23? I can't do the maths. 97, 2020, 24, 25, 26 years ago. You've got Mike Tyson and Holyfield. They're well retired. We've seen what Mike Tyson's got left in the boxing ring. Nothing. Boxing is for young men. It's not for old men. If you're in your 40s, like I am, and you look after yourself, like Bernard Hopkins did, you can have a career that goes into your 40s, but then you have to adapt your style and change it, but you can still probably just get away with it. When you're pushing 60 years old and you've had a long, hard career, you can't be jumping in the ring. So I just hope and I plea for Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield to stop talking about having this exhibition or whatever match it is, and don't get punched in the head anymore. It's not a sport for old men to be getting punched in the face. And when I say old men, I say it with the greatest of respect, but when you're in your late 40s in professional boxing, you're classed as an old man. In most sports, athletes are old when they're in the 30s, mid to late 30s, they're old. So when you're in your 58 years old and you're getting towards your 60s, you shouldn't be thinking about fighting. But this is the problem with all this fake Paul bullshit and this crossover fighting and this misfit stuff, whatever you want to call it, YouTuber boxing. It's giving people ideas and making them think, actually, we can generate some money here. But at what cost? At the cost of your health. So hopefully Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield do not get in the ring and start punching lumps out of each other. And to be honest, when you watch Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr., when they boxed, because that was quite big news, wasn't it, when they got in? You thought, oh, Mike Tyson's back and Roy Jones coming out of retirement. That was like a move around, wasn't it? That was a very respectful sparring session. It wasn't really a watchable spectacle. Like all of these fights, they're just not watchable. The Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight was a load of crap. It was absolutely rubbish. And surely the people that are buying into this and paying for this and watching it, surely they're going to go, right, that's it now, I've had enough. There's no more market for this anymore. I'm going to be really, really interested to see what fake Paul comes up with next, because surely the people that saw the Mike Tyson fight, the penny's going to drop and they're going to say, this ain't working, this is a load of rubbish, we need to stop. But yes, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, please don't get in the ring and start punching each other. It'll be painful to watch. So before I wrap, I just want to mention Jon Jones put in a great performance at the weekend in front of President-elect Donald Trump. You know Donald Trump watches the channel Froch on Fighting. You know he's a Cobra fan. He knows we're on the same wavelength, doesn't he? But anyway, enough about that. Jon Jones defended his title in style with a little spinning kick on it, caught him low, and then he just took his time and clumped his opponent on the top of the head and got him out of there. And Tom Aspinall is the interim heavyweight champion. And Jon Jones is talking about not fighting him next. He's talking about another fight, which I always think the UFC is good because the best fight the best. Now, if Jon Jones is going to swerve Tom Aspinall, I just feel like it's going to let me down. It's going to let all the fans down, all the UFC fans, but it lets me down in my belief that the UFC, the best fight the best. I mean, Tom Aspinall, he's a friend of the show as well. He's been on here on Froch on Fighting. Proper nice lad as well, proper down-to-earth kid. And he just speaks so well. He speaks from the heart. He's very humble, and he can fucking fight, can't he? Proper top fighter. Punches hard, kicks hard, grapples hard, and he just wipes everybody out. I don't want to give Jon Jones any stick at all, but I don't think Jon Jones fancies the job. What is he, 38 years old now, so he's pushing 40. He's had an unbelievable career, probably one of the best in UFC to do it at heavyweight. Just an unbelievable fighter. He's brilliant, but I just think he should be fighting. I think Dana White said, look, he's got to fight Tom Aspinall, but because he's is he bigger than the UFC? Is Jon Jones bigger than, can he bend the rules to suit him? Maybe he can. But Dana White really should force him and say, listen, you've got to fight Tom Aspinall. He's interim heavyweight champ. He's next in line for the belt, so fight him. So hopefully Tom Aspinall gets his shot, and hopefully Jon Jones doesn't let the UFC world down, and he takes his fight against Tom Aspinall, and we see who actually is the best current heavyweight champion of the UFC. So that's it for another episode of Froch on Fighting. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. You know it makes sense. You'll be subscribing to the best boxing channel in the business. Unquestionable, without doubt, undisputed best boxing channel in the business. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please do leave a 5-star review. You know it makes sense. You know you're enjoying these videos. Listen, I'm the only channel that talks with honesty and integrity, in my opinion. I just try and speak from the heart, tell it how it is, and the feedback that I get in the comments is always 99.9% positive. There's obviously going to be a few Froch haters out there, but we need them. We need them to keep the algorithm going. So keep the negative comments coming in. The very few that I get, I do read, I do enjoy, and if you've got any real beef, I'll get back to you and we'll have a little bit of debate. And then you'll go from being a Froch hater to a Froch lover, because that's the kind of guy I am. But anyway, for now, this has been another episode of Froch on Fighting, and I'll see you very soon.